are toxic and can be very deadly at certain levels. The wireless industries have put radio transmitters in our utility meters, many of our appliances, and of course our telephones, all kinds of gadgets all over the house. They also put radio transmitters on towers and poles all over town. There is no wireless industry executive who can swear to the safety of any of that. Many people are finding that they are sensitive to radio frequencies. They are getting sick. And there seems to be no one who will even believe that they are sick, much less be able to help them. The wireless industries have a standing policy to simply deny all claims of inquiry about negative health effects of radio frequencies. They are making a lot of money by providing wireless services, and the biological hazards of this avalanche of radiation into our living spaces is a very inconvenient factor in the wireless gold rush. Of course, wireless industries spend hundreds of millions of dollars in advertising in all of our mainstream media, and as a result, the mainstream media is more than happy to downplay and suppress any information that would discourage us from using wireless services and devices. That means you are not getting very important information that you should be getting. For instance, you should be allowed to know the particular symptoms you might suffer if you are overexposed and being harmed by radio frequencies. Here's a short list. Some of these symptoms, injuries, and diseases take 5 years or more to develop, so by the time you see those symptoms, it is far too late to avoid serious disease and possibly death. The more immediate symptoms that can help you detect the exposures are in red. Again, not all of us feel all the symptoms, but no one can escape long-term damage from excess radio frequency exposure. It is bad for you, and radio frequencies are now everywhere. Our environment is saturated. Those items in red could tell you right away that you have too much radio frequency exposure in your living spaces. Everyone has a different level of sensitivity to radio frequencies, so while you might feel fine, another member of your family might be having symptoms or health issues from the same exposures as you are getting. So someone in your house might start suffering sleep disturbances, headaches, memory loss, cognitive impairment, or changes in personality and relationships. To make this worse, these people usually have some difficulty in convincing their loved ones that there is a problem. The short-term effects of oxidative stress might be high blood pressure or susceptibility to infection or infectious disease. Endocrine damage can push you toward diabetes and various glandular disorders. These symptoms may be more gradual and less specific. Of course, all of these represent serious health problems down the line, whether we have immediate symptoms or not. There is no one who is immune to damage from radio frequencies, so if you do not have short-term symptoms, it does not mean you are not going to have long-term damage. In fact, if you are not careful to avoid the exposures now, you may have more long-term damage than a person who was sensitive to begin with. Fertility and reproduction may be one of the big ones here. The birth rate of the developed world has slowed down sharply in perfect correlation with the growth of the use of wireless technologies. Men who carry cell phones in their pocket generally have 50% lower sperm count than men who don't. Cancer is strongly associated with long-term exposures to radio frequencies. Studies have shown that any cell tower in operation for more than 5 years has an increased number of cancer cases within a half mile of the cell tower. The fact that radio frequencies are known to damage DNA means that literally anything that can go wrong with your body could be caused by radio frequencies. On a molecular level, radio frequencies deconstruct the DNA and RNA that makes you what you are. There is so much wireless now that most of us are exposed to enough radio frequencies to suffer some DNA damage. So what should we do? The first thing is to reduce your physical exposure to radio transmitters, especially the ones you carry around on your body and in your hand. Minimize the use of appliances and devices that have radio transmitters. Just get rid of them if possible. Otherwise, keep them as far away from your body as possible. Sometimes metallic shielding can be helpful. EMF shielding clothing is also available. But shielding in generally is not as good a solution as eliminating or escaping the exposures. The transmitters in Wi-Fi routers can be turned off and hardwired with Ethernet cable. If you live in an area where there are a lot of cell towers, 5G antennas, or high-power electric lines, make plans to move as soon as you can. There is little you can do to protect your health when a large set of transmitters and electric field generators are all around you. Most people do not know that electric fields, sometimes called transients or dirty electricity, are just as harmful as radio frequencies. Dirty electricity penetrates most of our homes and workplaces from wiring because of certain characteristics of smart meters, wiring errors, and electric motors in our appliances. Electric fields cannot be shielded like radio frequencies. They penetrate everything like gravity or magnetic fields. Dirty electricity calls for installing line conditioners on the wiring circuit to restore clean current to the lines. We have more information on how to do that at emfhelpcenter.com. One of the most difficult problems for both dirty electricity and radio frequencies are electronic utility meters, because you can't simply throw them away. But many people say these are the worst sources of dirty electricity and radio frequencies that they have to contend with. Most utility companies refuse to admit this problem and refuse to provide the traditional safe and lawful electromechanical meters. But there are some special ways that you can mitigate the harm and hazard of electronic utility meters without going into ugly battles with your utility company. That information is at emfhelpcenter.com under the column titled Solutions. Our wireless industries and government regulators seem to think there is no limit to the amount of toxic frequencies we may be exposed to. And we are supporting this view when we pay for and use our wireless devices. In other words, no one is looking out for you. Money talks, and a lot of money is going into wireless products and services. Just a few years ago, we didn't have to worry about these kinds of hazards. So for now, it's up to us to learn about the biologically damaging electromagnetic fields and take action to protect ourselves and our families. EMF Help Center is a good place to start and take control of your toxic electric field and radio frequency exposures. Perhaps most importantly, when someone tells you they are sensitive to these environmental exposures, they usually are. People don't generally make that up. It's no different than chemical sensitivity. Some people cannot tolerate the smell of bleach, other people can. Never make the mistake of assuming that the person standing next to you can tolerate any level of electromagnetic exposure. This is especially important for people who live together. We may have to make compromises over an issue even though the issue does not affect everybody equally. But if someone says they are sensitive to EMF, and we just call them crazy, that not only damages the person who is getting sick, it damages the relationship. Mutual respect is all that's needed to help people deal with a problem like EMF sensitivity.